guys, welcome to Flix and Comix. I'm JoJo and we're here with a movie review of Renfield. If you're slightly interested in going to see Renfield, stop watching this. Support your local theater, support this movie, and get your butt in one of those seats. Renfield was directed by Chris McKay, who also directed the Lego movies and the Tomorrow War. The writer was Ryan Ridley and story was by Robert Kirkman, which also got me really excited because I'm a huge fan of the Walking Dead comics. So when it came to the story, I thought it was pretty brilliant the way that they kind of introduced this new generation to who Renfield is. For those that haven't followed older Dracula movies or any kind of source material, Renfield is this submissive kind of character. He's Dracula's servant and he helps Dracula kind of carry out these nefarious deeds. So we start off with Dracula and Renfield having lived for years and years and years. They are undead. So Renfield is what they call a familiar. A familiar is when Dracula, I don't know if it's like any vampire or just Dracula, but Dracula has given him certain amount of powers and he can tap into those if he eats a bug. And his main goal is just to appease his master Dracula. At this point, Dracula had lost a lot of life blood, so he had to regain that. Renfield was in charge of bringing him bodies to do so. The problem is Renfield has this inner turmoil of not wanting to bring him the blood of the innocent. In this movie, Renfield has morals, and that's what's cool about it. You never really see this side of Renfield. You never see his perspective. Essentially, in all the other movies, he's just this side character that Dracula uses as a doormat. I thought it was interesting to see how like socially aware these filmmakers were in creating that whole like subplot of mental health therapy, what it is to be in a toxic relationship, how to get out of one, how to deal with a narcissist. You know, they dealt with it in such a delicate, playful way. And of course, those things are nothing to laugh at in the real world, but the way that they paralleled that with the Dracula-Renfield dynamic, I thought that was brilliant. When it came to the action sequences, you know, you hear me a lot of times say, oh, there's too much action in this, I zoned out, right? Especially when it comes to like Marvel and DC. Because what those films have been doing is like, they've just been like stuffing the third act with a ton of action that is seemingly meaningless, to be honest, a lot of the time. And it's just CGI galore, right? And that frankly loses me, like as a viewer. What I appreciated from the action sequences in this movie were that they moved the story along and they didn't drag out super long. Even though they were over the top, they were very entertaining. You could follow what was going on. I guess one nitpick I have is I wish that the blood wasn't CGI. It's like extreme violence in these sequences where arms are getting pulled off and stuff like that. I get that it's just a lot easier to accentuate those moments with CGI blood, but I am such a practical effects person. I would have loved to have seen like blood like gushing, you know, just a minor gripe. If after everything I've said, you're still looking for a reason to watch this movie, go for the acting alone. Nick Cage killed this role. He was incredible. I was actually kind of shocked. I was scared that he was gonna phone it in for some reason. I'm not sure if like it's because he's older and I haven't seen him in too much. I know he's been in a couple horror movies lately, but I haven't watched those, so I wasn't sure how he was gonna do. And wow, he pulled it off remarkably. He had scenes where he was just vicious and disgusting looking, and then he would go from that to being this debonair kind of sarcastic personality when talking to Renfield. He just showed a lot of range here and I was very surprised. I gotta say too, the makeup on him, the special effects were incredible. And I feel like when these actors have to wear makeup like that for long periods, you really become the character. Like it's a lot easier for the actors to execute the way that they want to, because it's just that much easier for your brain, like your psyche, to believe that you are the role. The makeup just really elevated his performance. I thought Nicholas Hoult did a great job as Renfield as well. I think that he had a great balance of being this timid, kind of insecure personality type to being a vigilante type, kicking ass and taking names. You could technically see this as a bit of a superhero movie if you wanted to. I don't know if you guys noticed, but earlier in the movie, before he goes all clean cut, he looked a lot like Gerard Way, right? And what was funny is like later on in the soundtrack, you hear My Chemical Romance. And I'm like, yes, I love My Chemical Romance. I haven't even mentioned Awkwafina. She was that goofy, quirky character she tends to play in a lot of different movies. But she also had a like vulnerability in this movie as well. So it kind of caught me off guard. And you know, to be honest, it really made me see that, you know, she doesn't have to be typecast to play this like goofy, bumbling kind of character, you know. She definitely has a potential to do more, and I would like to see her in more serious roles occasionally. So hopefully that happens. And I really feel like her character Rebecca grounded the whole storyline, because of course we're dealing with Dracula and Renfield, who have these like powers, and you know, they're undead. So she brought a sense of reality to things. I felt like the stakes were higher because of what she had been through, and you know, her sister getting kidnapped, and it was like it was all up to her to kind of stand up for her own self as well, having been through everything she went through with her father, and then also what she was going through at her job in the police department. Because of her connection with Renfield, it was nice to see them support each other in their self-growth. That was a theme in the movie, was like sticking up for yourself and being confident in what you do and believing in yourself. It brought some heart to the movie. So let's get into the Lobos. We had the mother, who was the crime boss lady. She was played by Shohreh Aghdashloo. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. She did a killer job. Everything about her, she just commanded the room, and I was there for it. She was such a badass lady. And then her son, played by Ben Schwartz, who I was like, where do I know this guy? And turns out he's from Parks and Rec, and he played a brat in that too. So yeah, he pretty much plays this wannabe alpha in this movie, but it's clearly not. Those two played such a convincing like mother-son duo. I really enjoyed their little dynamic as well. So this was a really fun cast. You think back to the Universal Monster movies and Dracula specifically, and you know, it's creepy, yes, and it's classic, and there's definitely a lot of value in those movies. They're timeless. But now that horror and film have evolved since then, I've always wondered, how would it be to try to bring those films to current? I mean, a good example of that is Invisible Man, right? Obviously changes were made there too, and it wasn't quite the same as the original, but you know, still a good adaptation. With this, they doubled down on it, making it over the top cheesy, yet still staying true to those horror tropes and the classic look of Dracula, specifically the Bela Lugosi version. Overall though, I have to say this movie was so good. It exceeded all my expectations, and I'm so happy for that. This is definitely one that I'm gonna buy and possibly go watch again in the theater if I have time. I highly recommend this. I would grade this a solid A, maybe A minus. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys go watch it. If you're any kind of horror, comedy fanatic, like, please go watch this. Please, please, please. We need more movies like this. And yeah, anyways, guys, if you like this video, give me a like or subscribe or both. I don't hate it. And you can catch me on Twitter and on Instagram at Flix and Comix. And I guess I'll catch you over there. Later.